What's up, everyone? Welcome to my full 100% walkthrough of Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. Very excited for this guide, and I have full confidence that this will be the most comprehensive Dark Souls 2 guide on all of YouTube. It's been a long time coming. In this walkthrough, we will cover all that is needed to successfully get through the game and all that's required for 100% completion and achievements. So with all that being said, let us get started.
Perhaps you've seen it, maybe in a dream, a murky, forgotten land. A place where souls may mend your ailing mind. You will lose everything once branded, the symbol of the curse, an augur of darkness. Your past, your future, your very light. None will have meaning, and you won't even care. By then, you'll be something other than human. A thing that feeds on souls, a hollow. Long ago, in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it Drang Lake. Perhaps you're familiar. No, how could you be? But one day, you will stand before its decrepit gate without really knowing why. Drawn to a flame, your wings will burn in anguish, time after time. For that is your fate, the fate of the cursed.
All right, so here we are. Very cryptic intro. Those of you who are familiar with the series, this should come as no surprise. We are a cursed undead, much like we are in the beginning of Dark Souls 1. So, yeah, we wake up, we don't know where we are, and we're on a quest to undo the curse. That's pretty much the gist of what we're after. And as the old lady there said, we're going to find ourselves on a journey, and we're not exactly going to know why or what it is exactly that we're doing, but we're going to go on it, and we're going to figure it out as we go, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So here we are. As you notice, there is no character creation prior to starting the game. We're going to do this first little bit here prior to setting up our character and all that. But we'll get there, don't worry. So first things first, just kind of typical Dark Souls movement if you want to get yourselves familiar with the controls. Circle or B is going to be your dodge. R1 is going to be your light attack. R2 is going to be your heavy attack with your right hand weapon. Same goes for the left hand side as well. If you're wearing a shield on your, if you're using a shield on your left hand, then L1 is going to be block, R2 is going to be parry, or L2 rather is going to be parry, and that's pretty much how this game is going to work. The red bar is your HP, the green bar is your stamina, same typical mechanics there. And you notice we have half HP. That's a representation of the curse that we are currently under and that we're trying to reverse. So all that being said, that's pretty much the long and short of it. So before we get too far here, I'm going to go back and you see that's where we started. There is an item. Well, before we get to all that, why don't we just cut to the chase. We're going to be dying, and as I said, this is a 100% trophy walkthrough, so if you die, you get a trophy. So how about that? They actually reward you for taking your first death. So go ahead and do that. Get that trophy out of the way. If you don't get it out of the way now, it'll come soon anyway, but figure I might as well point that out since it is technically for a trophy. And typical Souls mechanics, as I said, if you make it back to your bloodstain before dying, you get your souls back. If you die on your way to the bloodstain, those souls are gone forever. We didn't have any souls on us anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that's how the game works. So up here to the right is going to be our first item that we find. Pick this up. Rusted coin. I believe it improves your luck, basically your drop rate. You use one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go past this bridge, but don't go inside quite yet. Notice there's an item right there. You go down this little pathway here, look around, we can pick up this item. Small, smooth, and silky stone. What this is there's a bird you can trade with, much like the other Dark Souls games. And this is an item that you can trade with the bird, and the bird will give you a random item. It is RNG based, so. And now we're going to go back across the bridge. If we take this path, you'll notice large footprints. There is a monster up here. We're not going to fight it just yet, but there is an item next to it that we're going to pick up. And we're going to come back here once we're armed and equipped, and we will fight this thing. But it should leave you alone as long as you don't pester it. You can pick this up. Gold pine resin, you can use that to buff your weapon. And we're just going to run away for now. And we're going to go inside this little hut.
What seems to be the ruckus?
Oh my, your face. The face of the curse. It's an undead. An undead has come to play. They all end up here. All the ones like you. You spoke to that kind old dear, didn't you?
You're finished. You'll go hollow. Yes, you'll become one of them.
Hollows prey upon men, feast upon their souls. This is the fate
of the cursed. What is your name?
All right, so now it is the time for us to create our character. I'm gonna name him DB for short. In a sec, we'll be able to pick our class and all that good stuff.
At least you know your own name. Here's your reward for sharing. It's a human effigy. Take a closer look. Who do you think it's supposed to be? Think back, deep into your past. Yes, it's an effigy of you.
All right, so these old ladies, they know that we're cursed, and it seems like they've seen several of us come through before, like they were kind of expecting us or know who we are. But as for what we're going to do now, we're going to set up our character. So we're going to start off as a knight class. This, in my opinion, is probably the best starting class, especially since we're going for a melee build, a melee-centric build, I should say, in this playthrough. Has pretty balanced stats and sets you up pretty nicely to begin with. As for a gift, there are several that could be useful. We're probably going to go for the healing wares here. You could also choose a life ring. We're going to get one early in the game anyway, so it's kind of a waste if you pick it now. Bonfire aesthetic, we'll get into that mechanic a little bit later, but I wouldn't pick it for now. Petrified something. These are things you can drop at the bird that's going to come up soon, and it'll give you a chance for actually a pretty high quality weapon if you get this, but it is randomized, so I'm not going to pick it. So we're going to go for the healing wares. As with most of my guides, this guide is going to follow the philosophy of I don't want to be using things in this guide that depend on RNG. I want this guide to be 100% repeatable by everyone following this guide. So I'm not really going to be dropping those petrified somethings or small, smooth and silky stones or whatever, because I don't want to be relying on RNG for this playthrough. But by all means, I would highly encourage you to use those items as you get them. They can give you some good stuff in your playthrough. So let's see, as for my, my look and all that stuff, I really don't want to spend a whole heck of a lot of time with that. Let's just dive on in. So I think we will finalize creation. So the main things are class knight, gift healing wares. I think that's probably the best way to start. And we'll finalize. Yes, this is our true self.
All people come here for the same reason. To break the curse. You're no different, I should think. Doesn't stand a chance. Well, you never know. Go through the door and trot along to the kingdom. But remember, hold on to your souls. They're all that keep you from going hollow. Oh, I'll fool you no longer. You'll lose your souls. All of them. Over and over again.
So they're pretty much mocking us. Does not instill much confidence, but it is our job to prove them wrong. So these old ladies, what they represent, they are actually old fire keepers. So this is a sequel to Dark Souls. And what we'll find out as we go through the game is the world of Dark Souls is extremely cyclical. So this game takes place probably several hundred years after the original Dark Souls. And the linking of the fire ritual goes on and on and on over and over and over again through time. And those old ladies are fire keepers. From a long time ago. So let's light the bonfire. If you attack this thing, we can get some items, and then we're going to circle back through here. So one thing to keep a note of is in Dark Souls 1, you not only had to light the bonfire, but rest at it to be able to use it as a checkpoint. Dark Souls 2 changes that. All you have to do is light the bonfire and it becomes a usable checkpoint. You will warp back here if you die to the most recent activated bonfire. And up here we have a human effigy. So we have life gems. You notice that since we started with the healing items. Those function as a consumable that can heal you. And it's a slow regen to your health if you use them. We're going to get our Estus Flask in just a little bit. But for now, we have those life gems because we picked those healing items. We go to our menu real quick. We can check out our equipment. And we also have some Radiant Life Gems, which restores more HP. And Old Radiant Life Gems, which restore even more HP. This will recover, will heal poison. And those are the starting items that we chose at the very beginning. Our equipment is already automatically put on, and we have our broadsword in our right hand. So now we have a weapon, which is nice. As with the original Dark Souls, if you press triangle or Y on an Xbox controller, you can two-hand your weapon, which will do a little bit more damage. So since we don't have a shield, we'll go ahead and two-hand. And now it's time for us to fight that ogre. He is a difficult enemy, not going to lie, especially if this is your first encounter. There is a good way of fighting him, and he does drop a ring, so I would highly suggest fighting him at this point in time. As always, R3 is lock on. So the best way to do this is to get behind him. So roll through his attack if you can, get behind him, and you want to bait his sit-down attack, because he will do it over and over again. That grab attack you definitely want to avoid. So there's a sit-down attack. Gives you 2 hits. If you kind of stay behind him, you can just bait this sit attack over and over again. Only problem is that he rotates when he does it. So eventually you might be kind of locked out of like being able to get behind him again. But as long as you can bait it, just do that over and over again. It's 2 free hits, and then you might need to kind of reset if you are... That tree was blocking me. So roll through his attack. Try to bait that sit down. There you go. 2 hits. Bait the sit down, and we'll get him here. And that is that. And for our trouble, we get the stone ring. This ring is pretty good, actually. It makes your attacks reduce enemy poise even more than it did before, so it gives you a little bit of a boost there. So now that we're done with that, it's time for us to proceed. And if that takes you a few tries, don't sweat it. You'll get it. And again, I think the key is really baiting that sit down attack and kind of abusing it. And if you can't get it now, it's no shame to go on and progress and come back later. So we're going to proceed. And you'll notice back there in that cart, we picked up a torch. That was one of the items behind it. Torches work a little bit different in this game. You can't equip them to your hand. You see, we actually have this. You see this icon that's next to our equipment here, and it says 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes, and so the way that you light these torches is you have to go up to an already lit brazier here, and you can also do this at a bonfire. I'll show you how you can do it at a bonfire real quick. So if you go to a bonfire, you see how I can toggle the action here with triangle or Y. If you're on an Xbox controller, I can toggle between rest at bonfire and light torch. You can also light a torch at any bonfire. But here, like this little sconce out here is lit, so we're going to use this to light our torch. And so you can see there are several sconces throughout. If you light all of them, it actually triggers an invasion. But at the beginning of the game, you can't light all of them. We're actually going to come back here later to light the rest of them, but I'll show you kind of the path to light them all for now, all the ones that we can light at least. So we're going to go on and light our torch. We're going to light this torch first. We're going to enter this fog wall. And this is basically the tutorial area of the game to get you comfy. If you had trouble with that first enemy, you can kind of go through here and it'll give you tips on how to use your weapon and all that sort of stuff and give you some easy enemies to fight. So that way, if you get your confidence, you can go back and fight that other guy later if you need to. But for now, we're just going to be attacking these enemies. They're pretty simple to get through. We have another little sconce here. And there should be another one coming up. A guy hiding over here. We're going to light this one. And so down there, that's the area that we can't access till later. We're can kind of see it across the way for now. So we're going to light this one. And this one. This is totally optional. Again, what this does is if you light them all, which we, as I said, we can't do until later, it triggers an invasion. A guaranteed NPC invasion. So we can pick this up. We got the dagger. And this guy's got a bow, so he's got a little bit of range. Like this one. And we'll keep going on our way here. More enemies. This guy's equipped. He's got a dagger and another guy with a bow. You'll notice we have full HP now. So when we created our character, we got our HP back. So the way that this game works, if you remember, if you've played Demon Souls, you remember if you die in Demon Souls, you lose half your HP after one death. In this game, you don't lose it all in one death, but you lose like 10% of your health up into each death, up until you get to 50%, and then it caps out at 50%. You're never going to get less than 50% of health as a result of dying. And we got an item, actually, that I want to point out. Picked it up in the house. It's a human effigy. A human effigy is what restores your humanity. So if you've been going hollow over time, this human effigy, if you use it, it will restore your health to full and then start the cycle over again. I would recommend using them sparingly. You don't want to run out of those human effigies. All right, I'm going to put my torch away for now. And I'm going to kick this ladder because we don't want to run out of torch time. So this is the bird where you can leave your stuff at. So just to demonstrate, I said I'm not going to use these items, but I just want to show you how to do it. You go to your inventory and you select one of these small, smooth and silky stones, or if you pick the petrified something at the beginning as your gift, you can leave that here too. So what you do is you leave it. And then the bird will acknowledge, and then you can come back and pick up kind of the item they traded for. So I got a soul of a proud knight. So that is a soul item that will you can use it in your inventory and it'll give you souls. Very similar to other Dark Souls games. So what we need to do now is you see there's a sconce down there. We don't want to drop down yet. We need to relight our torch. And if you have multiple items, the smooth and silky stones or petrified somethings or whatever, you have to leave them one at a time. You can't leave them in bulk. Otherwise, they won't trade with you. All right, so what we're going to do is drop down very carefully right here. We're going to light this one. Pick this up. Soul of a Nameless Soldier. And then we're going to drop down back to the beginning. So this ladder that we kicked down basically functions as a shortcut. We're going to enter this fog wall. I'm going to make sure that we kind of make good time here, because again, we don't want to run out of our torch time. If we do, it's not the end of the world. You get plenty of torches in this game. All right, so you can jump this gap. There's a gap right in front of us. So to jump, you want to run. You want to sprint with a circle or a B button and then press the left stick right before you get there. Put the torch away just to save some time here. We got to jump back over. All right, we're going to light it again, climb the ladder. Make sure your torch is lit while you're climbing, because there is stuff up here that we want to light. And we want to keep our torch lit here. Get a plunging attack on this guy. Take most of his health away. This guy's not happy with us though. Okay, so we want to go to the wooden door here. You note that we're running pretty low on time with the torch. We gotta hurry. And you can light and relight your torch in most places, but in this particular section, the fog wall, since we're up top in this section, we want to be able to make sure that we can light this one. So I'm going to put it away. So you notice But this has a little statue in front of it. This statue cannot be removed unless we have a certain item that we don't have. So that's why we can't do all of this yet. What we're going to do now is you see we have 3 more. And then we're done. We've lit all of them. So we're going to light this one. This one. And this one. So we had 19 seconds to spare. As I said, if you run out of torch time and you need to come back later, it's not the end of the world. And this is totally optional. All it does is it triggers an invasion for later. So, just so you know. So we are going to proceed past the tutorial area. I'm going to pop a life gem just to get that HP up. I mean, there's really not much danger in here, but you never know what can happen. So always better to have more health than less anyways. And this is going to take us to our hub for the game, Majula. And this is one of my favorite hubs into all of Dark Souls. So peaceful and serene. I like it a lot. So over here to the right, there's a little secret. You notice there's a path you can drop down. So we're going to do that. And we're going to drop down again. Behind us, we have the Morning Star and Cleric Sacred Charms. The Morning Star is actually a pretty good weapon. I don't think we have the stats for it yet, but it does bleed damage, which is very good. We also have a chime. That's what allows us to cast miracles. And then we have binoculars. So binoculars are good for spotting things that are afar. You can kind of zoom in with them. It's also very good if you want to use spells. You can freehand your spells if you're too far away from an enemy to lock onto them. So before we proceed, we're going to circle back around here. This is kind of where we came from before we dropped off. And by this tree, we have a divine blessing. And this restores HP and cures all ailments if you use it. So these items that we're picking up, you see they're in our inventory. You can use them in your inventory, or if you want, you can equip them to you, kind of your quick bar here. So just as an example, I wanted to equip Radiant Life Gems as well. You can see how you can cycle through the items that I have equipped on my quick bar. And that's governed by these little slots down here. You can equip more if you want. You can put the Divine Blessing on here, Rusted Coins, whatever else you want to do. Amber Herbs slightly restore your spell usages. We haven't really gotten to that yet. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to light the bonfire here in Majula. So as I said, this is sort of our central hub for the game. We're going to be coming back here a lot. So get comfy at Majula. And we are going to talk to this NPC, the Emerald Herald.
Are you the next monarch? Or merely a pawn of fate? Bearer of the curse, I will remain by your side till this frail hope. Take this with you.
All right, so we have our Estus Flask. Hooray for us. Already she's asking us questions we don't know. I doubt we're the next monarch. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe we are.
He who made Drangleic what it once was. King Vendrick.
She tells us to go see King Vendrick. We don't know who that is yet, but we're going to learn a lot more about this place as we go further.
Bearer of the curse, for misery will lead. You will never meet the king with...
Kind of our first quest here, go see King Vendrick.
Seek those whose names are their souls once you have found them, so that hope will not fade away.
So we got to find special souls, and then she'll kind of lead us on our way. There's a lot. It's going to be a while before all that happens, just so you know, but kind of gives us our bearings for starters. So here at the bonfire, we have our menu. We can travel, attune spells, which you don't have spells yet. You can burn stuff at the bonfire, but we don't really have anything to burn, and we can manage our inventory as well. So for right now, how about we equip our Estus Flask? I like my Estus Flask in the first slot always, and I'll put my life gems in the next slot. See if she has anything else to say to us for now.
Bearer of the seek the king, lest this land.
And so now we can use her to level up or upgrade our Estus Flask. We don't have any items to upgrade our Estus Flask yet, but we will get one soon. We can talk to her
Over the
more.
hill and past the forest is the king's castle,
So that's where she's leading us to for now.
where a man peered straight into the essence of the soul. But whatever came of it? Those who come to Drangleic seeking salvation, it happens to them all. That blue knight at the base of the tower, although he does offer sound, perhaps he is a foreshadowing of your own.
Yep, not very many people have confidence in us at this point. We will have to show them. She's mentioned a guy up there. We're going to talk to him in just a bit. So as for leveling up, we want to prioritize at the start 13 dexterity. We can't quite get there yet. We want that to use some weapons we'll be getting later. So we're going to level up our dex to 9. So 13 dex is kind of our first milestone as far as leveling is concerned. And we're going to go talk to that guy she advised us to talk to. This is very important. This is actually for joining a covenant and for a trophy. So make sure you do this if you're going for all achievements.
You're undead, aren't you? You have that distinct scent. It is a kind of settlement, and in Drangleic these days. I am Solden. And like you, I lost everything. You probably heard that it was possible to well, there's nothing here for you.
So he, like us, is cursed, and he has pretty much given up on it. Telling us that there's not a way to break the curse. Well, if there's not, then this whole thing is pointless, but we'll, as we go, we'll find out.
Do you know, even I'm not. I'm told that the soul is anything living, sentient. What we call the curse is traceable. Do you see what? To be alive, to walk this, we are, and that's quite a...
And so one thing you notice that we have to talk to him several times, pretty much a general rule, if you're talking to an NPC, you want to talk to them until they start repeating their dialogue. You want to exhaust all of their dialogue, because if you don't, then you might miss something. So we got to keep talking. We will get a trophy and be able to join this covenant eventually.
There are 4 beings in this land with giant souls. And wherever you go from here, you'll sooner or later, each has a powerful, if that frightens you.
So 4 beings with powerful souls. Those of you who are familiar with Dark Souls, that should sound awfully familiar. And as I've said quite a few times, you know, as we play through the game, we'll get to see more of that as we go.
Do you ever cry? The journey of an undead. You'll face invaders from other worlds. If you need help, when you face danger, the protection is yours, if you wish.
All right, Covenant of the Meek. We have the trophy. We want to join the Covenant. Reason being is that there is a trophy for maxing out a Covenant, and you can actually max out this Covenant pretty easily just by playing the game and defeating NPC invaders as they invade your world. So you can get this. You can get this trophy offline as well by leveling up this Covenant. It can be done offline by beating invaders, as we will as we get to some of the areas later on. And so you enter the Covenant.
That is a people are.
You'll notice that little blue icon on the top left of your screen there that indicates we have joined this covenant.
In their benevolence, let the sentinel.
Now, if you're playing online, most covenants tend to influence online interactions with other players. So what this is if you get invaded online and someone is a blue sentinel, you can come to their rescue and help them. Or Way of Blue, whatever this covenant is called. You can come to their aid as a blue phantom to help them, or if you're invaded, then they can come to your aid as a blue phantom, but that's only if you're playing online. So don't worry about that if you're offline, like I am.
Do you feel lonely? It suits me just. It will grow on.
And just a little bit on why I'm playing offline is because I don't want invasions during the walkthrough. I want this to be a very predictable, repeatable experience, as I said before. And really, unlike the other games, the only way to truly play this offline guaranteed is to log out of your account. Or basically what I did was I turned off the internet connectivity on my console, and that made it so I'm playing this offline. Really sucks because the other games allow you to just toggle that in the menu, but as I said, I much prefer to play offline, especially for a first playthrough or for a walkthrough. If you're following along with this, I would suggest you do the same. So one thing that's very important to do once you've exhausted all the dialogue here is to learn the gesture. Reason being is there is a trophy achievement tied to learning all of the gestures in this game. So this is the first one that we're going to learn and be doing this kind of throughout the game as well. We get the welcome gesture. And we're already part of the covenant. So now we're done with him. So now we're just going to have ourselves a look around, get acquainted with this place. So here is where the weaponsmith is going to be. It's locked for now. We can't get in. We will get there.
Who are you?
Before too long.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I packed my tools in, but now somebody's got...
He just wants back in his shop. We're going to help him out. Probably in the next episode, I think, is when we get that key. And behind the building here, on the other side, there is a item we want to pick up. Soul of the Nameless Soldier and a life gem. I'll show you how those soul items work in just a bit. Next, we're going to go here to the armor shop. And this guy has a NPC quest line. It is pretty much driven by how much you spend at his shop. We're not going to buy anything for now, I don't think, because we can't afford it. Let's see. What are the stats for? They need 10 strength for this shield. This shield's not a bad thing to pick up right now, but let's see. If I use my soul items... Let's see if that gives me 1,500. It might not be a bad idea to pick up a shield here. There we go. I'll go on and buy that shield.
Thanks very much.
And we'll go on and equip it. So you see, this shield blocks 90% of physical damage. I do prefer shields that block 100% generally, but in this case, it's not really feasible, so we'll go with the 90. Quick tutorial. L1, as I said, used to block. L2 to parry. And up this ladder, we have an item. So let's go on and pick that up. Titanite shard. Used for upgrading weapons, armor, etc. So that door over there is locked. We can't go in there yet. Over here we have a well. Now, I would highly suggest not going behind this building to the right. There are these pigs that annoy you. They're very difficult to kill. Just don't mess with them. If you do, run back to the bonfire and reset the area. So you want to knock down the stone. This guy gives you an Estus Flask shard. And this is what you use to upgrade your Estus Flask at the Emerald Herald, as I mentioned before. It's now over here in this tent. Another item. Some life gems. All the way back here. Homeward Bones. And this is for another covenant, so make sure that you do this for the trophy. So if you join this covenant, the Covenant of Champions, it does several things. It makes enemies more difficult to defeat. It makes your attacks less powerful. And this game is a little bit different in Dark Souls than Elden Ring and any of those other games that you may have played, in that the enemies in this game do not respawn indefinitely. I believe most enemies in this game have 12 lives. If you kill them 12 times or more, or actually, we can't kill them more. Just if you kill them 12 times, they stop respawning. Unless you're part of this covenant. If you're part of this covenant, the enemies will respawn indefinitely, much like normal Dark Souls. I don't want to be part of this covenant, so I'm going to go back and join this other one. Make sure you're not in this covenant if you don't want the game to be harder than it already is. So we're going to go back here and join this guy's covenant again. We wanted to get that other one for the trophy. Back to the Way of Blue.
May you find peace on your journey.
And we will go back to the maiden to upgrade our Estus Flask. Don't forget to do this, because we did pick up an Estus Flask shard.
Bearer of seek soul, seek the king, lest this land.
So Estus Flask is strengthened. You'll notice before we only had one usage of our Estus Flask available to us. Since we turned in an Estus Flask shard, we now have 2 flasks. We will find shards throughout the game, and we will get up to 12 usages of the Estus Flask, always available to us. As I said before, the life gems are consumable, but there will be a point in the game where we can buy them. All right, so that's going to do it for this first episode. I'm going to close this out. Going to have a little bit of a chat for those of you who want to know some things. If not, you can go on and skip to the next episode, but I just wanted to have a quick discussion with y'all about this game. So this game, I would say, is a bit misunderstood. It gets a lot of hate. Now, I will say some of the complaints people have with this game are warranted. Most notably, there is one stat that I want to point out that you can level up if you go to the Emerald Herald. And this stat is probably the most divisive stat in this game or in any Souls game. And what I mean by that is if you level up or attempt to level up here, you'll notice this ADP. This stands for adaptability. And this governs a large number of things. Most notably, it governs the amount of iframes you have when you roll. So what that means is that when you roll, you're going to have less invincibility than you're accustomed to. Let's say if you're playing Dark Souls or if you're playing Elden Ring or any of the other Dark Souls 3, for example. So what we're going to do is we're going to level up this stat, and then that's going to give us more iframes the higher we level up this stat, because this stat is tied to, if you look at the right-hand side of the screen, kind of in the second column from the end there, you see AGL. It's 87 right now. The more you level up your adaptability, the higher that agility stat goes up. And that agility stat is what governs your invincibility frames when you roll. It also governs your invincibility frames for walking through a fog wall or opening up a treasure chest. Those things that you're so accustomed to having invincibility frames for in Souls games doesn't really work that way in this game. It's tied to your agility. So we will be leveling up our adaptability to a point to where we have normal iframes that you would be accustomed to in a typical Dark Souls game, but we're not there yet. So people don't like that. I personally don't like my iframes being tied to a stat either. Other things that your agility will impact is your item use speed. That includes your Estus Flask. So right now, your Estus Flask, it's going to seem like it's going kind of, the animation is kind of slow. But the higher you upgrade your adaptability and therefore your agility, the faster your item use speed is going to be, for example. So those are the two main things. Adaptability is kind of, people don't like it. And it also, I think, governs your resistance to different types of damage and things like that. So that's adaptability. Another thing that people don't like about this game that it is one thing that I take issue with, is that the game is relatively ambush heavy in its enemy placement. Another thing being the hitboxes can kind of be a little bit janky at times. For the most part, it's pretty good, but there are a couple specific instances where the hitboxes are just not the best. So you'll feel like you'll be taking damage when you shouldn't at certain points. But for the most part, I would say people's complaints with this game, the hate that this game gets is a bit more than it deserves. I personally love this game, even with some of the flaws that it may have. I think it is a wonderful game, very enjoyable, and I think a lot of people's complaints, valid as some of them may be, are a bit overdone. So with that being said, I'm very much looking forward to this walkthrough. I love this game. It's probably my least favorite of the Dark Souls series, but it is still an amazing game that doesn't get enough love, in my opinion. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this walkthrough, is to show it the love that it deserves. So all that being said, just a little bit of my philosophy about walkthroughs and such. As I said, I don't rely on RNG, so everything that I'm going to be using in this playthrough, all of my weapons, all of my equipment is going to be stuff that is guaranteed that you can pick up along the way. That's not going to be, require any sort of farming for enemy drops and that kind of stuff. Because I don't want to put you guys in a position to where I'm using something that you have to spend an hour farming from some, enemy to get a random drop. That's just, for me, that's not the way that I want to do these things. I want it to be pretty easy to follow, pretty easy to repeat everything that I'm doing. So all that being said, this is going to be a great experience. if this is your first Souls game, I would have to say I would not recommend Dark Souls 2 as your first Souls game. Just some of the reasons I described before would be the reasons why. If someone came up to me and asked me, you know, what should I start with, I would definitely point them to, you know, I'd point them to Elden Ring, or even I'd point them to Bloodborne, or I'd point them to Dark Souls 1. I pretty much would never tell somebody to start with Dark Souls 2. That's just my opinion. I know there are some out there who would vehemently disagree with that. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. If this is your first experience in a Souls game, don't feel like you can't play this game or can't follow along with this or shouldn't. You know, it's up to you. You approach it whatever way you want to approach it. I'm just kind of giving my opinion on how I would start. But anyways, if you're along for this ride, it's going to be a good time. And I really appreciate all of you guys watching. And with that being said, I just needed to have this chat just to kind of set the ground rules a bit, and just to set the expectations and just kind of give a little bit of background on where I'm coming from. Where we start the next episode, we're going to go straight over there by that sconce over there that's already lit. There's a pathway that's going to take us to the first area of the game, and we're going to have ourselves a lot of fun. So all that being said, really appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's go on this journey together.